Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Michael Jansen. Let's get started because we have a lot of people here today, and it's really a pleasure to be speaking on this subject. It's a pleasure to be speaking to so many investors today. We had a good 200-300 signups, which is wonderful. Today's presentation will carry us through a few themes. I'll be talking about digital twins and their use in helping cities to become more sustainable and more efficient and more profitable, what all that means, as well as an investment opportunity that we have at the company and some things that we're doing at Cityzenith on that front, which I know are of interest to so many people who are attending today. If you've seen this investor presentation before, this is not really a weekly update per se. This is largely for new investors who are not familiar with the company but are keen to learn. We recently launched a Regulation A+ capital raise, which just is about to cross $3 million. We're very happy about and is accelerating nicely. We relaunched the offering page, which is called the campaign page recently, and it's beautiful. So we're excited to get going with that. And I'll be talking more about that later on today. So some highlights, about the company and the opportunity and what we're talking about today and the subject matter generally. Many of you will not know what a digital twin is, and digital twins are getting talked about a lot today, especially in technology circles, but over the last few years, they have become very popular. And effectively are virtual replicas of real buildings and infrastructure or objects connected to data and tools that allow us to take these virtual things and predict and optimize real world outcomes. That's at a high level. Our specialty as a company is in something called urban scale digital twins, or digital twins that can be deployed at the scale of something as large as a city. The Forbes, I believe, recently said that as many as 500 major world cities will come to rely on digital twins for daily operations over the next several years, and we were actually quoted in that article. So urban digital twins include what? They include not just cities themselves, but smart districts, airports, ports, master real estate developments, downtown urban core regeneration projects, large-scale infrastructure projects, including things like rail, above and below ground. These are all effectively urban-scale digital twin projects, and we are involved with a bunch of those things. Couple of them that we have talked about a lot in a recent couple of years, especially the past year, is a completed project for the city of Amravati, that's in South India. It was a new capital city designed by Sir Norman Foster of London, a beautiful city for 3 million, where a digital twin was used, in our case, to aggregate the 3D design models of multiple architects working from multiple countries into a common master 3D city model that would then run simulations, helping these architects to study the environmental impact of their district schemes with the intention to lower the average street temperature, resultant street temperature, by several degrees during summer, because this is a very hot city in a place where temperatures can hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit throughout summer and be humid. So we were successful in being able to do that, to apply effectively a third-party artificial intelligence-based microclimate simulation tool. The architects were able to use SmartWorld successfully to integrate all these models and these simulation tools and achieve the desired outcomes of, in our case, simulating a reduction of temperature equal to 8 degrees, which is just massive. You think about the impact on not just financial savings, but carbon as well. Then we did a project a year later in the UK called the East-West Rail Infrastructure Project that ran from Oxford to Cambridge. Here, the digital twin was really conceived to be a kind of, for lack of a better term, a kind of master project model for the entire 103-kilometer high-speed rail project between Oxford and Cambridge, integrating a broad range of complex tools from 3D, what they call building information or data object models, to LiDAR models, which are really point cloud scans, kind of 3D scans of complex things, 3D JPEGs, CAD drawings, IoT sensors, a whole bunch of things. It was a really extraordinary project that did some, that proved the point and helped to save, I believe it was 15% of the design budget from the utility of this tool. With some newer things, and we even have newer things than this now, we can barely keep up, but this is the Orlando Sports and Entertainment District, a real estate development on the western side of downtown San Francisco, where a digital twin is being used to do a couple of things. But primarily, the first use case is around smart building systems optimization. So they have, I think, something like 7 or 8 different major smart building systems in these different facilities that they want to pull together in a single common model from which to optimize the interface between these systems. So that is connecting their control systems to their vendor management systems, et cetera, et cetera. So, for example, when a leak is triggered, that automatically sends a notification via the digital twin to the vendor/engineering firm responsible for fixing it. So tying together all the complex functions into a cohesive, optimized operating model. And the second thing that they're doing, and this will come to similar to a project that we're doing in Saudi Arabia also, is using this, the data from the digital twin to feed information to a mobile application that will allow visitors to do a wide range of things, from booking a hotel room to seeing a public pre-programmed events venue schedule, to booking a seat in the Amway Center across the way where the Orlando Magic play basketball, to arranging for parking, to valeting a car, to getting medical attention, all from a single app in a single location. Let me see if I can find the videos that we did for this, and I'll pull it up and show it to you. Yes, here it is. Just going to take a little bit of time to get going here, so bear with me. Okay, I think we missed the first part of that, so let me show the first part again. Great. So what you saw there was, and I'm very picky about how my product gets presented, which is why I wanted you to see the very beginning of that too. It was the integration of multiple, I think it was 5 different systems, showing things like the location of heat pumps, air quality sensors, and so on and so forth, humidity sensors that have all been now integrated into a single digital twin model and being used to optimize, at this point, tenancy planning. It's really interesting. So we're kind of getting into the meat of the market of digital twins itself. Digital twins, we as a company participate in 2 different markets simultaneously. One is the smart cities market, where we are part of a 400 billion plus market growing to 800 billion over the next several years. And more directly in the surging digital twin market, which is, I think, 3 billion last year, growing to over 48 billion by 2026. That's extraordinary growth of something like 58% year on year. If a market is growing 20%, it's really moving fast. This is extraordinary. And as an early leader in this space, we were fortunate in that we started our business early enough to be one of those voices when it was being formed. And we've been mentioned in the last 1 year itself over 1,000 times in the media, including in Forbes and in the BBC and a whole bunch of other places. That is really wonderful for us to get this type of exposure. We have a revenue goal this year after launching the product in the end of 2019. We have a revenue goal for 2021 of about $1 to $3 million. I think it's going to be on the 1 to 2 million side. And we now have a pipeline that has exceeded $11 million in new opportunities. So the digital twin market is in the early upswing phase. We're getting a lot of high quality, premier customer, what I call first and second stage work, which is exactly what we want. And that's going to enable us to scale these opportunities in the years to come as we go forward. So one of those opportunities was something called the Lamana Tower project, which is in the Middle East. It's a real estate project where we were engaged to provide a digital twin to a commercial building owner, building an extremely high-end luxury residential property on the Red Sea. And he had 2 goals, really. One is to have a high-performing system that using data that was secure. For that, we decided to deploy an on-premise, a private cloud digital twin, the first ever, and in which we're basically partnering with Amazon to put all Amazon cloud services into a box that can sit inside a control room on premise. And the other is a tenant application allowing residents extraordinary access to services, not just booking an appointment, but being able to turn lights on and off, seeing security footage from their mobile app, being able to arrange for parking, pay bills, make decisions, etc., from a single application that would again be pulling data from this digital twin, which is very interesting. If we look at a similar project on the other side of the world, but a much bigger expanse, we're doing a job with a group called the Agile Fractal Grid Group, which is an energy services company dedicated to a kind of technology they call fractal grid technology, which is really optimized smart grid technology. So smart grids make more efficient the way power is transferred from one place to another. As we all know, about half of all power is lost in transition. So there's fractal technology helps to optimize that, combined with renewable connections. They're really able to help entire cities run on renewable energy. It's extraordinary stuff. And we've signed a deal with them that collectively will see us taking on projects around the world, deploying this technology as their core technology partner. So we call this model that we have pilot to partner. We do a first project with major customers that have large portfolios or large scale assets, and we move from a phase one to a multi-tiered phase after that, with the intention to roll out the solution across all of their projects or many of them. We call this a white label strategy. It involves recurring revenue from enterprise software licensing fees, as well as professional services. Our average starter jobs are in the vicinity of $50,000 to $150,000, and then when they get bigger, they're $1 million plus per contract. That spins off all types of revenue sharing opportunities as well. We have a number of institutional partners now. We, of course, have the European Commission that we're working with collectively on developing a digital twin for the planet, which they call Destination Earth. We were invited to sit in their roundtable and be a voice of wisdom as they develop that project, as well as the UK's National Digital Twin Program. They're one of several countries that now has one, and we're integrally involved there. But more beyond that, we're new members of the Digital Twin Consortium. I really like this group. There are probably about 300 companies right now that are doing some really extraordinary projects together and helping to set standards and guidelines for digital twin work everywhere. And we're going to chair a working group there, as well as get involved in several projects. And then we have a relationship with the 2030 Districts Network. And this group is focused on helping commercial building owners in major North American cities reduce their energy consumption by half by 2030 and down to zero by 2050. I love the work that they're doing. And while we pursue a business model of developing pilots and partnering with large private organizations, this model allows us to provide the core technology to cities and their stewards, in this case the Green Building Council or their partners, for free. And the individual building owners throughout the district pay us effectively a small fee for access to the master digital twin. I'm very excited about this model. Hopefully, with fingers crossed, we'll be making some announcements soon about the first few cities that we'll be working with here. And finally, some of you might have seen these announcements out in the media. We were selected by the World Economic Forum to be a global innovator, to join their what they call Global Innovators Community. There's, I think, 140 companies since the inception of the World Economic Forum have been uniquely chosen as specially qualified to take on massive problems. And they found us, which I think is just unbelievable. We have been put in the energy and infrastructure group to work on the net zero carbon cities initiative. So a lot of our work is tending towards and trending towards decarbonization and helping cities to go carbon neutral, basically one building at a time. And these types of very powerful, high-level global relationships are going to help us get there. Several WEF global innovator companies have gone on to become multi-billion-dollar unicorn companies. So we're in fantastic company. We get access to 267 of the top minds on planet Earth around the subject of net zero carbon cities. We could not conceivably be happier or more honored to have been chosen for this top program. And we've got 2 years. It just started. Wish us luck. Among the other cool things that happened recently, we were selected by NASA to pitch to NASA the use of digital twin technology to help their urban air mobility program. Now, what they're trying to do there is NASA's planning for the future of urban air travel, delivery taxis, drones, etc., air taxis, that type of thing. And we do that very naturally on the ground right now using all kinds of optimization systems, and they want to do that in the air. So we pitched to them a proposal to actually do that. And it kind of looked like this in the end. Using some data that they provided, we were able to optimize, and we simulated how potential drones could move throughout the city, and we began looking at landing locations, and starting that type of analysis. It was very early stage, but at least we were able to explore what this tech really looks and feels like, and give them a good sense as to the possibilities here. And of course, we're all familiar with now, thanks to the a number of things happening globally. A big push to take the planet in a new direction. There's a lot of movement in that area. The current administration of the United States recently announced that they see the decarbonization of buildings as the biggest sector to go after first in the race to zero, which is right where we sit. So that's awesome news. And we've been talking about this for a while, and the potential of digital twin technology to help with these bigger problems. And we launched a campaign in October called Clean Cities, Clean Future, which was shown all over the country on CNN, CNBC, the BBC, etc., announcing our effectively entry into the ring as a solution provider here. Let me show you what some of these nationwide television commercials that we ran actually looked like. They came out really well.
In just a few decades, 68% of us will be living in cities. But did you know that cities account for 3/4 of all global CO2 emissions, and population growth and poor planning is making the problem worse? With our transformational AI software platform, we pledge to try and make the world's most polluted cities more sustainable, clean, and efficient, because we want to build a better future for our children, and we want you to join us.
So I love that commercial. So we recently launched and produced a white paper. We do mostly white papers about digital twins and all the wonderful things that they can do. This white paper was just about crowdfunding. I'm an entrepreneur. I have been at this game of building companies since really almost 20 years now. And I've had the great pleasure of being able to raise money from Sequoia Capital, who famously funded Google and Yahoo and YouTube. They also funded my last company, which grew from 10 people to 500 people in just a few years. And I gave my investors back 17 times their money in 3 years. I'll never forget my very first investor, Frank Schwab from Chicago. I had this idea for a company, and I was looking for investors. I didn't know anything about how to do it. And my father introduced me to some people who knew some people who knew some people. And I went to a Caribou Coffee and laid out my business plan, first time ever for an investor. And Frank Schwab gave me my first $100,000. And 3 years later, we went to the same coffee shop, and I gave him back a check for $1.7 million. I'll never forget that day. This white paper chronicles that entire journey from Frank Schwab to Sequoia Capital to a successful regulation, CF on Republic, the whole journey. If you're interested to learn more about crowdfunding, what it's about, check it out. You can download it from our website. This is a Regulation A+ offering. We did a CF, which some of you might be familiar with, on the Republic platform a couple of years ago, and we raised the maximum $1 million in just 2.5 months. These are very highly structured, qualified raises. It takes almost half a year to get an A+ off the ground. You apply through the SEC and FINRA. It's monitored by a broker-dealer. It's a very strict process. And it's done for your protection, so that you as the public can invest comfortably, knowing that this is a very thoroughly vetted and official process. And I think that's the beauty of it. Our offering today, we're right at the $3 million mark in the first, I guess, roughly 5 months of the offer, which is terrific. The share price did go up this year. It's at $1.50 right now, and we've got over 1,600 investors who have invested in this round since the beginning. If you're an investor, what does this mean for you as an investor? A couple of things. Up until recently, if you were investing in startups, no matter what somebody told you, you're probably waiting 5 to 7 years, maybe 10. If you're extremely lucky, 3 before you see money. And for a lot of people, that's just too long. For accredited investors, maybe. Institutional, they're used to it. For crowdfunding investors, not really. And so with the Regulation A+, we actually have the ability to allow shareholders to sell their shares later in the round if they choose to. Beyond that, we recently announced, I think the press release went out today, that we've signed up with Rialto Markets, our dear partners there, to join their secondary trading service, which means that if you own shares in this company, you can sell them on a secondary market whenever you want to. So let me say that again, because if you're used to startup investing, you probably just fell down on the floor and need to get back up and dust yourself off. That's right. Now, if you invest in a startup, once your shares have cleared whatever restrictions they are, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and it may vary, you can sell those shares at a profit. We had people who invested in this company at a certain price a few months ago who've already made 2.6 times their money. And we'll be able to sell those shares in a matter of months and make a huge return. So that is now possible. We have a goal to give you a 7 to 10x return. We don't guarantee any performance, of course, nobody can. But we have a stated goal to do that. I would actually like to exceed that goal. That is our stated goal. How to do that? You go to the Cityzenith website itself, and there's something called an invest button. You click on it, and it'll take you to the offering page. It used to look like this. We just changed it on Friday. It still looks fantastic, and it's more updated. I'm really, really thrilled about the new page, only because we were given the chance, as you always are, to update the messaging and talk about all the cool new stuff. So it is really awesome. I'm going to go through the highlights that you'll see on the offering page so you know what we're telling to investors. Number one, this is from the team that created Google Earth. My first partner was the creator of Google Earth himself. Our technology, as I mentioned, helps cities cut their costs and building and infrastructure owners by as much as 35%, and helps cut carbon emissions by up to 100%. The digital twin market, as you saw, is going from $3 to $48 billion in 5 years. We as a company have signed $4.6 million in new contracts since the start of this year alone, with an additional $11 million in the pipeline. So some of these deals are big. We have the deals that are 100,000, 150, 75. We also have 2 deals which are more than $1 million. There are, as I just mentioned, there are different options to cash out at different times, unlike traditional structures. We have raised $10 million so far from over 5,000 investors globally. And as I mentioned, some of our top clients, traditional clients, include CBRE, W.S. Atkins, Cushman & Wakefield. Of course, I mentioned AFG. And the one I didn't mention is that we're working with the U.S. government. We have a contract with the U.S. government that we're very, very proud of, and was just renewed. So great stuff. So go to the offering page, click. You'll see everything about the deal. You'll read about the product. You'll read about the team, their backgrounds, the whole thing. Enjoy it. Now is a time called Q&A, when, bam, on the half hour. I crushed it today with the timing. I love to take investor questions, so I'm going to go in the order in which they were received. If I go to the chat channel, 1 second here. Okay, starting at the bottom. Okay, something about, if I have a Corconic certificate, how do I register my holdings with a secondary share transfer agent? What will happen is that on your Corconics account, there'll be a button that will give you access to the secondary trading account. We'll be making an announcement about that soon. A question from Todd: are you doing both dynamic bidirectional physics-based models yet, or just static data using historical data to forecast ML, AI, etc.? Both. The physics-based models are just another data layer, Todd, actually. So the the ability to, for example, see a building sway would be a physics-based model based upon wind loads, etc. It's not the best use of the technology because that's a micro use that is best done by AI tools. We integrate those tools, etc. They can do those predictions and we can render them. But bidirectionality is not something that the market's asking for. Which to those who don't know what that is, that means a digital twin can both pool data and process it and tell you all kinds of amazing things about your assets, and that's called one directional. Bidirectional means you use that information to then go out and control those assets, turning things on and off, etc. We don't have a strong need for that, interesting, right now. And so we have not pursued that yet. Can it be used for that? Yeah, sure. A question about the company's valuation. What's the company's valuation at $1.50 per share? It's $37 million today at $1.50 a share. Question from a gentleman named Flavio. Your website says from the architects of Google Earth. So that acquisition was made in 2004. It's 2021. Most of them are retired and gone. We had the first gentleman was a gentleman, a French engineer named Rémi Arnaud from Paris. He was the chief engineer on Google Earth. He was with a company called Keyhole and designed a product called Earth Viewer. And Earth Viewer was bought by Google, their first ever acquisition, and they renamed his product Earth Viewer something called Google Earth, which is what you know. And they were with the company for the first 5 years and were very, very helpful to us. They were experts in gaming and engine making. And the world's changed a lot since then. There are now products that kind of do that. But what I think was useful about those folks back then, and what they can be credited for, was they were the ones that helped put us on the path towards game engine technology and away from traditional, what they call in the architecture world, IFC-based technology. That's kind of the architecture of CAD and BIM software, which was a revolutionary concept at the time. Question from Ms. Donahue. How does Cityzenith build its sales pipeline, and how much revenue does revenue impact the company's share price? Well, I think the digital twin market has really taken off in the past 12 months. So as I tell people, whatever Cityzenith did prior to the last 12 months is largely irrelevant, and also in part due to COVID. We launched in the end of 19, and we were able to successfully navigate our way through COVID, doubling in size as an organization and raising money rather than shrinking, and take advantage of it. So certainly the major contract closures recently have had an impact on the price change. We went from having 1 or 2 clients to having 8 now active paying clients, of 15, I think, successfully delivered clients. Contracts moving from toe in the water to more core implementations on larger projects. So there's definitely the kind of progress that we wanted to see. And of course, we're still getting started. Okay, let me see, here's a question from Joanne. If I wanted to invest 1 week, if I wanted to invest in 1 week and take the money out next month, is that possible? The answer is no. When you buy shares of a privately held company, they're called restricted shares. If you buy in the regulation A+, there's a 6-month cooling off period. So if you bought today, you could sell out in 6 months. And that's, by the way, the same for what they call an S1 or a full public offering or an IPO. There is a cooling off period for the protection of shareholders that prevents something called a run, and it's for your protection. James Connor, are there still shares available at 75 cents per share? Oh, Mr. Connor, I'm going to give you a real-time answer, my friend, by having a look at the progress. So, on the guys with the you're here, 65 of you. With the friends and family offer, we absolutely crushed it. I can't believe it. I mean, we figured we raised 50 grand. Within 24 hours, we had 250 grand. Called an emergency board meeting at midnight London time to issue another 250 grand because we didn't want to disappoint shareholders. Mr. Connor, there's a small amount still left. That's all I can tell you. Very small amount still left. It's going to go soon. Next day or two is my guess. But as of right now, today at 1:37 Central Time, yes, it went really fast. It just went really, really fast. So we're going to be launching, that people are asking what that is. We'll be launching that to the public actually, James, next week at the $1.50 price then. So if you've taken advantage of it, good for you. And there's a question there about WeFunder. We run a regulation A+, and I'm going to share this with people on this call, which is a $15 million A+, and we launched a $5 million A+, regulation CF on WeFunder last week. It's a private round. It will not be made public until Monday. It will be all the same terms as this round, except there's a difference in regulation A+ and regulation CF shares, and there are more restrictions on CF shares. So the advantage for existing shareholders was they were able to take advantage of a certain deal in coming in again. So if you were an existing shareholder and you jumped on that early bird pricing, that's good for you. If you're a first-time shareholder, a potential investor, I would advise that, and you're interested in this, I would suggest that you consider the A+ because of the relative greater flexibility of the shares, especially when it comes to resale. Okay, a question from Elliot Miller. Who are your competitors? We have larger and smaller competitors. The digital twin market has grown so much. There's a bunch of people out there calling themselves digital twin companies. So it's hard to even know who some of them are. At a big level, Esri, Autodesk, Bentley, Microsoft, Dassault, the top 5 big ones. We don't really compete against them directly. We kind of sit between them, but we will see them in some competition. Then we have smaller companies that do basically managed services, etc. What's different between us and all these companies is that none of them really has a true digital twin platform. And there are our competitors have chosen to make standalone products that typically do one thing, and we have chosen a product that can build a product with greater pain and greater investment that can do multiple things and really scale with a customer to grow with your organization and across a very large organization. And I think that's where we really differentiated ourselves from everybody else. Question from Mr. Souza. How many employees are you today? How has it grown over the past few years? Well, we are in-house and out-of-house about 30 people today. I think we were 12 or 10 3 years ago, so we've tripled in size. And we grew a lot during the pandemic when, again, we were successful, able to raise money, and even though projects stopped in 2020, of course, the whole world shut down. So, the goal of 2020 was to get to 2021, really. And for us, we took it as an opportunity to build better software, to deepen our relationships with customers, so that when the world began to emerge from the pandemic, we would be ready with it. And as a result, people say, how did you sign so many big deals in the first half of 2021? Well, we were working on them since 2020, so we knew. So the growth has been good. Where do I think we can go? We have a goal to double the size of the company between now and the next 18 months, by the way. So question from Rosaline says, WeFunder with the question mark, but I don't understand the question. So Rosaline, if you put that back in there, I will try to answer it. Question from James. he's a question. He's asking about an email he sent earlier. Yes, James, the investment team handles everything. They'll be right on it, I'm sure. Okay, there's a question. Here's an answer to Rosalind's questions. And that is the one regarding the other one. Let's see. Question from Todd. How do you compete with or partner with people like ADT, IES, Willow, G Digital, Siemens, OpenBlue? So I think I answered this one. In fact, you mentioned some of these companies. So GE would be, Siemens would be on the bespoke proprietary platform. We make GE, we sell GE, you buy GE. We don't work with anybody else. That's Siemens, that's several of those. Willow is a managed services group. They're basically an outsourcing company that sells services. They'll sell you a team of people rather than a piece of technology, and that those people will do what they do. They tend to do individual buildings that way. It's another model. Our clients, which include everyone from the U.S. Army to the World Economic Forum, they don't go for that kind of thing. That's a who cares. They don't like GE or Siemens because they're selfish and they basically don't play well with others. What they're really looking for is a platform company with real technology that could integrate all of these other technologies. So where do we sit? Is we sit on top of everybody. We're the dungeon master. Ricardo, for a property holding client, how do we build a business case based on sustainability and value driven by your platform? So what we are doing with property owners is helping them two things. One is with, for example, CBRE and JLL and Cushman and Wakefield, the use case is around operational optimization. Digital twins will aggregate data from sensors, from multitudes of systems, from flat files that allow those systems and their performance to be correlated and optimized, saving. And the savings aren't small, Ricardo. I mean, the savings in digital twins are not 5%. They're 35 to 80%. The other thing that they're being used for in the commercial real estate world is decarbonization. New York, LA, DC, other cities now in the States. In fact, we're behind Europe and Canada and other places, but in the States even, are now mandating that commercial buildings go net zero. So how you do that is a multi-step process. There are really 5 major different things you need to do that. And they all involve different types of integrations and transactions, from a low-hanging fruit analysis to renewable analysis to energy modeling and simulation, all that type of thing. Digital twins are perfect for that. So we're looking forward to rolling that out at scale. What is the technology roadmap for SmartWorldOS? Well, first of all, we are a true, we have now emerged, if you see the name now, SmartWorldOS, as a true operating system. My goal is to get this technology into hundreds of the world top cities and to disrupt all of the nascent crap that they're using right now, like GIS, which was, by the way, GIS as old as I am, 1969, okay? That's how old that technology is. BIM, my last company backed by Sequoia, we became one of the leading BIM companies in the world. We know exactly, one of the guys that built the product that Autodesk bought called Revit Technologies worked for me. We know what's inside the engine there, okay? We know that it can't scale to do the bigger stuff. The world has to build 10,000 new cities in the next 30 years or rebuild. There are no tools to build large-scale projects at scale today. And BIM and GIS, they're collapsing in front of us. So there was a need for a city operating system that could not just do a city, but all the city's important parts. The engines, the brains, the hearts, the liver, the lungs of the city. So the airports, the ports, the master developments, the major commercial projects, etc. That's what we can handle today. We could be deployed in an entire country by the end of the year. We could have a smart world deployed to an entire nation by the end of the year. How many employees are in-house? Everybody. Daryl Knight, alternative to provided SS online. alternative to provide a SS online? Daryl, I don't understand that question. Could you mind, if you could clarify that, Mr. Knight, I'd be grateful, and I'd be happy to answer it. A question from Terrence. How much would someone who invested $500 expect on a return? Well, we can't guarantee returns. We have a goal to provide investors a 7 to 10x return. Okay, question from Rosalind. You've answered my questions. I am amazed. There are only 30 people in the Cityzenith with all of you've done. And yeah, we are too. I've got to tell you, we have an incredible crew. We're small, but we're very specialized. I could talk to each of you for an hour about each of our top people. You know, our lead back-end engineer was one of the top people in innovation at the U.S. Air Force, and also led the innovation department at U.S. Bank. He's a genius. Our product manager, product director, Mr. Jobson, headed the AI division at WeWork, and was also the computational design lead at one of the biggest engineering firms in the United States called Thornton Tomasetti. You know, Daniel ran the 3D retail division at Walgreens. I mean, these are guys who could be all have their own rock bands. Let me tell you, they don't need me. All right. And Rosalind, thank you for acknowledging the team. I got the loudest mouth of the group, but they are the crew. A question from Mr. Souza. Could you please expand on the secondary market platform you mentioned earlier? Yes. In fact, look in your email. I have to check it when it's gone out to the group. So secondary trading is a new thing. You can Google it with Rialto Markets, but it's a big deal. Effectively, your shares can become tradable through a secondary platform where people can buy and sell shares just like it's like the little stock market, but it's private. And so it's by invitation, and investors come and these deals list, and you know, that's the difference. So a lot of public companies, Flavio, traded on secondary markets, including, by the way, Facebook, for a long time before they went public. So if you had access to secondary markets, you could buy Facebook shares, you know, back in 2000 and whatever, I think it was 6, 7 before they went public. That's changed now, and now this is becoming more the done thing. So if you're an investor and you had to wait 7 or 10 years to see your money, now you can think differently, can't you? You can think differently about your investments, because now you can say, Cityzenith is rocking it these days. You know, even if maybe they're going to rock it in 10 years, but they're going to rock it even this year. So, you know, I could make money in 12 months. You know, that would be the change in thinking. Now, in the past, even if that did happen, there was no guarantee of getting you your money. You know, that's the thing. So now we can actually, if we are selling shares at that time and the price has gone up, you have the opportunity to cash out. Hello, Herbert. Thank you very much for attending. It's a pleasure to have you, of course. Always a pleasure. And you know, you and your wife are always a part of us, and we value your investments over the years and recently. Thank you. A message from Ricardo. Decarbonization has a business case behind them. Yeah, so the business case for decarbonization is threefold. One is reducing operating costs substantially with energy reduction. So you can reduce operating costs from 30 to 40% in step one. Step two is increasing rentals by 3 to 8% based upon current market trends in among commercial tenants seeking sustainable spaces. They'll now pay 3 to 8% more. The third is access to carbon markets. As you decarbonize, you actually produce and generate carbon coins or carbon offsets, which grow in value over time and change the pro forma. So decarbonization actually has a huge business case. What's really going to push it, I think, harder is that, number one, pressure from the mandates to force decision making. Number two, that's going to force the carbon markets, carbon currency markets, and carbon offset markets to grow substantially in value, which will year by year make the economics sexier and sexier and sexier. A question for Flavio, from Flavio. When do you target the 7 to 10x return? In 3 to 5 years, Flavio. A question from Elliot. what are the chances of getting cities with tight budgets and limited resources to run with the program? So the key thing is that the cities don't pay. The steward is the Green Building Council, say in the city of San Francisco, and the cities are participants. So the ones who pay are commercial real estate owners, the people with all the money. A question from Todd. Any connections between Cityzenith and modeling health and wellness? Or is that another data layer on top of your platform? Actually, we are very close to the CEO and COO of the Wellness Institute that established the wellness standard. If you read our white paper, Todd, that we pushed out last year, the COO of the Wellness Institute actually comments on our technology. We think it's it's a data layer. We think that there's a use case in which we could model the impact of certain modifications for future owners who were interested in attaining a wellness standard. And I think that is a very smart thing you said. It's something that we have discussed as being part of the rollout to cities. A question from James, is there an IPO in sight? Well, there's always an IPO in sight. The question is, how good are your glasses? For us, we tell shareholders that 3 to 5 years, I think, is realistic. Could you go sooner? It's possible. Would you want to go sooner? I don't know. With the ability to sell secondary shares, it makes the need for an IPO a little bit different. But my guess is, again, 3 to 5 years on an IPO. A question from Mr. Miller. A fantastic comment, fantastic concept and incredible AI disruptor ripe to completely displace legacy GIS systems. And we have been conditioned to brought up on, yeah, Mr. Miller, let me tell you, you're not the only one. I grew up on all these tools. I'll give you my 2 cents here. At my last company, which was backed by Sequoia, we had 500 employees. And we were basically providing drawing services to architecture and engineering firms all over the world. We did it faster and better and cheaper. So we had to develop skills in all these CAD and BIM and GIS technologies. And so I know all these tools. In the early days, there were 3 of them. By 2008, there were 17 different tools that we had to be able to use, including all the GIS stuff. We were dying. And that's when we got the idea, William, that we had to build a platform that sat in between all of these and hovered above, hence the journey. Truly appreciate these investment opportunities as a small investor ahead of a potential IPO. Thank you for your frank presentation. You bet, William, anytime. A question from Robert. Thanks for the updates, Michael. You're in the right place at the right time, Robert. We really think so, Robert. We think that we really have nailed the timing. I'm honored and thrilled that we are always mentioned in the best of company in the media, that we're signing big deals, that we're getting I never thought in 1,000 years. Honestly, that from a desk and a phone to the World Economic Forum, that's a dream. That's a dream. And, that's, I think, for us to we are now being given basically the beginning of the chance to live this dream. So that's really all I can say. And super happy that all of you are part of this journey. And, we don't get to talk to investors all the time as 5,000 people, but you guys are making this happen. You're making this happen. And the team at Cityzenith is grateful and takes it with great seriousness. And we've been doing a terrific job lately. So we hope you're proud of us. If there are any remaining questions, we have a couple of minutes left here in the presentation. I'll try to answer those and we can wrap up here. I tried to take advantage of the friends and family offering, but I've not received a response. So Leah, if, let's see, as long as you hit the submit button, we have it. What you could do is send us an email privately and we'll check offline. Okay, we'll do that for you. But yes, to your point, what happened, Leah, was that there was so much interest in that friends and family round that we clobbered them with interest, and they weren't properly set up at WeFunder. And they should have put an automatic, they admitted that they should have put out an automatic email response to all shareholders. So many of you invested and didn't even know. We got everybody. So you're all good. As long as you hit the submit button, we've got it. We've got, I think, already 265 investors who have invested. You know, it is kind of gone time on that. So if you're an existing investor and you have an appetite, you're going to have to move on that. Any other questions I can take? Happy to do that. If you've got any more, while we wait for the final questions, let me wrap up by saying thank you. I'm grateful for your time and attention and listening to me talk about our company and some of the things that we're doing. You're certainly welcome to be a part of our journey. The best way to do that, as I mentioned, is to when you go to the website, to check out the offering page to learn more. You'll hear a lot of what I said today, and you'll also get some more information. If you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to us by email or phone, investors@cityzenith.com or info@cityzenith.com. They both work, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. If you leave us a message on our main line, we do get those messages, and we will call you back within 24 hours. And finally, if you have any problems investing, a lot of people get through the process. You know, there's 5 steps to investing, and you have to provide some personal information to be able to do it, because it's it takes, you have to be ready with your information to be able to do it. I find some people are super cool with templates and numbers and all that stuff, and some people don't want to bother. If you're one of those people, like my father, who just doesn't want to bother, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Give us a call or send us an email. We will get on the phone with you, and we will walk you in through the process of investing over the phone. Some people just, and it's your convenience. It's completely up to you. We'll take care of you if you're a whiz kid with these types of things, and we'll take care of you if you don't want to have anything to do with it. We can help walk you through that process. Thank you to everyone for taking part. We're going to wrap up here. There will be a recording of this webinar made available not only to all of the attendees, but also to all the registrants. And we're going to be doing these every couple of weeks. Last thing I'll say before I say goodbye is that we have partnered with the wonderful publication Cities Today. Cities Today is my favorite magazine about smart cities. Some of the smartest guys in the world out of the UK to help us co-produce our webinars in the future. So the next webinar is going to feature a number of special guests, not just Michael, but people from CIOs of cities, mayors, heads of significant institutions, our customers, etc. Also in these presentations talking about digital twins and helping cities to get more sustainable. Thanks very much for attending, everyone. Have a great rest of your days, and look out for that webinar link.